All right, so today I'm here with my good buddy Nick Gambacini. Nick is a author, trainer, like fitness skating trainer, coach, professional skater. You kind of do it all, honestly. How are you doing today, Nick?
Right. Hey, Zach. Yeah, I'm doing well. It's definitely a good day.
Yeah,
Got it. Nailed the hammer there. Yep. Fitness professional, everything.
yeah. So I mean, that's kind of like in a nutshell what you do or what you're up to. But go ahead and just give us a little bit about like your background, your journey, your story. Love to hear just kind of about you, honestly.
For sure. First things first, too. Thanks for having me on your web chat here. It's really
Yeah, of
awesome.
course. Yeah,
Um,
thanks for being a part of it.
yeah. So my story, very interesting, I guess. I wanted to train for the Olympics for figure skating. So
Right.
I basically, right out of college, I set out to do that and just bam, moved right out to Michigan as soon as I graduated. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pursue this. And here I go. Next thing I know, life came up, and I got hit by a car.
Right.
Um, yeah, and had a couple of series of events, but I found through positivity that I could overcome these things. So
Right.
essentially, that led me to be right. First thing you mentioned, author.
Yep.
So yeah, I wrote up the book, creating positive change to
Yep.
kind of spread that positivity to everyone. The fitness professional that came into play because going to the Olympics, you got to be in the best shape of your life, and I wanted to understand exactly how to do that, and it ended up turning into me wanting to share a lot of that with people. So
Awesome. Yeah. And now, Nick, I know you mentioned like the whole, getting hit by a car thing. Is that the same story that you told me with the speaker, the Bluetooth speaker?
oh, that's right, yeah.
Okay, I feel like if you don't mind, I feel like that's just like such a crazy story. If you don't mind sharing that, I feel like that's
Oh
super
my gosh,
interesting.
I would love to. Thank you for asking. Yeah,
Yeah,
essentially, you're right. So essentially, it's a day going to the rink, training. Right, every day was training. Still
right.
is. I was up training about 4 a.m. today, so that was a
Oh my gosh.
yeah. It's been an early day for me. I was up at 3 a.m. So
Wow.
um, loving it though. That's what it's about. Training hard,
Right.
making sure I'm crushing every goal. But yeah, the speaker that saved my life. So essentially, right, I'm biking to the rink. I like to be fit, so bike is the best way to get to the rink. So essentially, I'm in Michigan. I'm going on the nice straightaway, going nice and fast. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, car pulls right out. Didn't even look. Just nailed me. Poof! I flew over. Did a whole 360. The whole block
Oh my
stopped,
God.
and whoa, everyone, whoa! And I didn't quite hear too much of that. I just
Right.
bam, hit the ground. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the speaker was in my backpack. So
Yeah.
essentially, right, that kind of saved my life. It took a lot of the impact when I flipped over. I should have hit my head. However, the
Right.
speaker happened to be there, and I guess my reaction was to tuck my chin just enough. So
Hmm.
I did bang the back of my head. I got a concussion and all that, but the speaker has the marking on it still to this day. I used it this morning for my workout. I love that speaker.
Yeah, no, and I will attest to that story. When I met Nick, he had the speaker on, and he showed me, and there is quite a ding in the speaker. So, yeah, that's just crazy though. Like, that. I mean, I'm glad that you had that speaker on you, of course, but that's just crazy how, things can happen in the blink of an eye. And, I think that, just from talking to you, you believe with me, like everything happens for a reason. There's kind of like a plan, if you will, for everything. And, as awful of an accident as that was, I feel like that's really kind of, from my experience knowing you, has like shaped your outlook on life almost.
Yeah, essentially that led me down a whole pathway, and in that moment I had to make a decision.
Yeah,
Was I going to come after this person legally and sue them, or was I going to what I did was take the higher road, in my opinion. And
yeah,
I looked at him and I said, hey, like, take off, get out of here before the cops come.
right,
um I was still a little concussed, and I remember saying it. And essentially, I kind of felt, people got mad at me, which was very surprising. After, they're like, what, how did you do that? Why didn't you take the money? And
right,
I was a little thrown off by that. I was like, essentially, it's not about the money. I was okay. I did get a concussion, and
right.
it did turn out to be a bit of a unfortunate medical ring for me for a minute. But um I figure, pay it forward, put the energy
Right.
out to the universe, and it'll come back around. So
Totally. And I think that it definitely has that energy that you put out there. It does come back to you, and it has. And I mean, just from being friends with you and seeing what you're up to these days, it looks like things have been going well. You've been doing a lot of awesome things, and just I would say that you're quite successful and doing some awesome things for yourself and the world.
yeah, and same to you. I mean, you got
Thanks,
this
man.
this new book coming up, right? I heard a couple, word on the street going on.
Yeah, so I have the two books out that we talked about when we met we had a local author fair in Michigan, and that's where Nick and I met for the first time. But I have those out, and I've been writing for a while, and my goal has kind of been to try to get maybe a book a year out. And with the new year, I've been working on some stuff, and we'll see kind of what happens. I have a problem where I write multiple different books at once and kind of see what sticks. So we'll see what comes up. But kind of similar to you, Nick, like I'm very much in that vein of positivity and mindset. And I love your book, Creating Positive Change. And that's kind of where I'm at too, like just kind of like the psychology behind all this kind of good stuff with positivity and like the just putting out that energy. And my goal, similar to yours, is to positively impact people. So hopefully towards the end of this year, maybe we'll have another book coming out on my end, and I'm sure you'll be the first one to know about it, so you can be on
That's
the lookout for that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Make sure I am. I'd love to. I'd love to hear. I'd love to see it. Your last work was really awesome.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So kind of like I just touched on, Nick, you're an author too, so walk me through that a little bit. I know Creating Positive Change, great book. I've read it, I loved it, it was very interesting. I know that you kind of have some other pieces that you've worked on too in the past, but are you working on anything now, or what's going on with the writing world?
Yeah, very good question. So when you first read CPC, as we call it,
Yeah.
me and my editing team, it was actually in a first stages,
Okay.
and we didn't really know it until we kind of cracked it open after the book fair.
Yeah.
We a lot of people were reading it, they loved it, and essentially, we like to think that the process of perfection is ongoing. So
Yeah.
essentially, that's been the project since we actually last met. We went through a brief period where we kind of sat on it a bit, let the ideas fester, if you will,
Yeah.
and really evolve and grow to a point where they're going to be exactly what we believe the world needs to hear at this point. All the positivity and spreading the good vibes. So
Right.
the editing team, we just finished up our second revision of it.
Okay.
We drove it right into the self-help section without going too far to be like all the other self-help books,
Yeah.
essentially, where they most self-help books kind of hit upon a step-by-step, or
Yeah.
there's a couple that spin things a little bit differently, where in CPC we're trying to hit on the psychology,
Yeah.
understanding the physics of positivity, the actual science of it, which has been very interesting. I mean, these things aren't quite measured. I mean, there
Right.
has been spiritual reference, but in terms of how to apply an energy field or how to apply positivity, a lot of people say, be happy or smile, or
Hmm.
and we know that these things work. We know smiling, releases neurotransmitters like dopamine, for example.
Right.
We understand that correlation, but essentially we don't quite know how or why, beyond just the realm of science and how it impacts other people. So
Yeah.
the second revision, yeah, we went through it. Second revision, that's what I've been up to, just making it easier for the reader to understand, making it flow a lot better.
Okay.
We're very excited about it. So
That's awesome. And now with
yeah,
like the second revision, kind of just like I know you said the focus is kind of making it easier for the reader and just more knowledge and information for them. Are you like adding anything to it, or is it still pretty much like the same copy that I read, just kind of maybe breaking things down a little further?
well, great question.
Yeah.
We actually did add something,
Okay.
a new concept. It's a concept that ties things together.
Okay.
So we call it the camera analogy.
Okay.
Essentially, I've actually pulled it from my experiences. I just recently got into photography a bit.
Okay. Awesome.
Wanted to, yeah, it's a great art. Have you ever tried photography yourself?
I have, yeah. I actually took a couple of photography classes in high school, really loved it then. And I mean, I have like a nice DSLR that I'll go out and shoot on. And just with how easy it is to have your phone on you, I like to take some pictures out like in nature with my phone. But yeah, it's super awesome and like really just kind of for me peaceful and calming. So it's cool that you got into it.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, most people understand photography, and
Yeah,
I got into it, and essentially through the analogy, and that's cool that you have experience with it
yeah,
too. So the analogy itself, it kind of breaks down a much larger concept, puts it into a way of, how do we, the question was, how do you reach out to someone
uh-huh.
that maybe isn't self-aware to understand that they have an impact on this world.
Okay,
So that was the dilemma, that was the issue, and CPC really brought a lot of those concepts to light, and tried to spin it so it's like, if someone isn't aware,
mm-hmm.
that they could still understand it, that they could still apply it. So the camera analogy perfectly stepped in to help to reference how perspective is.
Okay,
And essentially, right,
yeah,
a given person, right, they have a frame of reference. So they have a camera, and they're looking through the camera scope.
right,
And on the other end of the camera scope is everything that they can see, and it's their reality, as we can call it for our purposes here. So,
right,
um, and everything outside of that camera scope is things that are just as much a part of the reality they exist in, but are just, not within their scope of vision. That's not within their perspective.
right. Okay,
So, the camera analogy, it kind of goes off on a tangent from there, and it keeps running to explain a little bit more about how these things are correlated, how
yeah,
things outside of the scope affect things inside of the scope,
yeah. That's
which
really
we all,
interesting.
yeah. And, it's not the newest knowledge. It's just
Right,
it's a very clear way of putting it to have people kind of understand it. And the premise behind it was, how do we simplify something as complicated as string theory?
right,
If you're familiar with string theory, and
yeah,
its latest advances in physics. Yeah.
right. Yeah, no, that I think that's awesome, and I think that that's like a cool concept to have, and I'll definitely have to check out that section of CPC when you have that version out of it as well.
Yeah, we're going through the final edit. So
Nice.
it'll be posted in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I can
Okay.
let you know.
Yeah, definitely.
We're gonna. That's awesome, Zach. I really appreciate you. We're gonna have a clickable version as well,
Oh,
so it's
cool.
even gonna have an ebook.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. We're doing a full showcase of it. It's definitely at a point where it's ready for it. So
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, I love to hear that. That's so cool.
yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah,
You're awesome, Zach.
thank you, man. So with CPC, you mentioned kind of all of basically you gave us a good kind of like summary of what it is, what it's about. Now, remind me, is your background like educational background kind of related to CPC, or like is that a lot of like the stuff that you've learned and written about? Did that come from just like research on your own, just outside of school, or like what got you interested in like all the kind of science and neuroscience and all that good stuff, physics?
Yeah, for sure. So I have a bio degree and a chemistry minor.
Okay, right.
So yep, essentially that my mind works a little bit like science, but I also noticed that not everyone's minds work like science. So
Yeah.
um, and positivity, the realm of self-help, they don't actually have too much to do with science, at least in the studies that I've done.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
so yeah, trying to bridge a big gap is where CPC could step in, and
Yeah.
it really takes science, and it brings it to a spiritual side, and then it brings it back to a layman's term, and um, so yeah. But to answer your question, yep, pulling from my bio degree,
Okay.
I had the hardest professors. I'm sure that we've all had very hard,
Yeah.
professors in our college experiences, right?
Right.
You sound like you've had a similar experience.
Yeah, I would say, just thinking back to my time in college, I'm actually kind of the opposite of you, Nick, and like science was never my strong suit by any means. Any of this, biochemistry, whatever, never my thing. So those were always kind of tougher classes for me. But yeah, I think we've all had that one or a couple professors back in the college days that were just super tough.
For sure. So imagine one of my professors, to give you some background too.
Yeah.
We've all had those tough ones, right? We've
Right.
all had
Right.
those tough ones. But there was good old, my science department, at least all three of them, each one of my professors had 3 doctorates.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, yeah, stepping into that. And I was like, woo.
That's
So
that's crazy. A little intimidating, honestly.
it was, but they were the reason, and I give a shout out to them. Good old Post University, Dr. Streck, Dr. Bozeman, all the science department over there really helping out. Um, yeah, they did awesome. They did an awesome job of just pushing me, making me have to really understand what true knowledge is, what true
Yeah.
hard work pays off, and what it can actually, give someone.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love it. And, I love the background that you have and kind of like how CPC is, just because, like I said, science, the hard sciences, were never my strong suit. So really kind of reading CPC, it really does do a good job kind of making maybe more, for me at least, more complicated, more in-depth topics a little easier to understand and kind of connect it to what I kind of see myself more in the wheelhouse of, like the self-help, just kind of like more of like, we're both psychology focused, but I'd say I'm more like psychology and just kind of like the positive thoughts. Whereas like you bring like the science and the physics, which I think was like really cool for me to just learn about and then just see how it works in the world.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you were able to gather some sustenance from the concepts.
Totally. Totally. And now I remember from when we spoke at the fair and just kind of seeing it on your social media and stuff. What was your goal that you had for like CPC? Like you wanted to get it to a certain amount of people?
That's right. So I did set a big goal.
Yeah,
Essentially, with no funding, how can we achieve this goal? But the goal was to reach 1 million people,
right.
and I think it's off to a good start.
Okay.
It definitely has exposure in a couple different states.
Yeah.
We went down to some basics. It doesn't take a lot of money to make a lot of money, which essentially is what people think. But the beauty of CPC is that we're not really in it for the profits. It's
Right.
not essentially to be, oh, let's make $1 million, but let's instead inspire 1 million people.
Yeah.
So yeah, back in, I was training for skating. I had the opportunity to go to Delaware.
Okay.
So in my travels, because I do often travel for figure skating,
Right.
one of the ways to get CPC out is essentially just put it into local libraries, went and chatted it up with them. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's been very low key in terms
Yeah.
of, we're not using a big budget. We don't want to have people kind of feel like it's something that's being sold to them. It shouldn't, positivity shouldn't be a monetary thing.
Yeah. No, totally.
Essentially,
I agree with you 100% on that. And, a cool story, just like about Nick that, I remember vividly is when we were at the fair, there was there was like this family with a couple young kids that just for whatever reason just love Nick and like the interactive activities you had at your table. Do you remember like the two little girls that
oh, I couldn't forget them.
yeah.
They were too silly.
So they were
Yeah,
just like super like the cutest, like I don't know, maybe like 6 and like 8 or 10 year olds, and they're just so nice. And I remember that like they really wanted your book, and the parents have been like running errands all day, and it was like National Comic Book Day or something, so they bought like a lot of comic books
that's
at
right.
like our local comic store. And I just remember that like she really wanted your book, and the parents were like, we already got so many books, we already spent a lot of money. And then Nick was just out of the goodness of his heart, he's like, here, take it. You don't worry about it. It's on me. And I just thought that was awesome because it really resonates kind of like, I think, with your vision and your mission. Like you're just trying to get that message out there and that positivity. And like, money's great, but it's not what this journey is about for you. It's more about just like getting out that message and helping people.
That's awesome. I actually had no idea that you witnessed that.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah, that's really cool. I do remember that though. I really wanted those girls to have a good time. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
excuse me, sorry.
And
Yeah,
just for the record, the reason that they had so much fun was Nick had this like, oh god, you'll probably explain it better than me, but it was like an interactive game where you would like write down on a piece of paper like something that you wanted to like get
To
rid of or
throw
throw.
away.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you would literally like throw it in a trash can. And like these girls would like put like chores, just like
Oh
throw it
my
in
gosh,
there.
yeah.
So I mean, like they got it. They understood the premise, but maybe a little more of like a age appropriate way what I think the intention behind it was.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember, and that was the big thing. They kept coming back,
Yeah.
and Mom, no, I want to do one more. Can I do another one? And oh yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
that,
That was super
that was so
awesome.
fun. But that was a really cool idea. And like, I mean, I love that idea. And I feel like, I've come across things similar to that, but just really talking to you at the fair and seeing, like what's this about? I think there's a lot of power in physically writing out or even like speaking out loud things that we want to kind of maybe remove from our life, and just the power of actually getting rid of it or throwing it out, like with that game. I think that that's very powerful, and I think it's cool that you're kind of introducing that to people.
That's awesome. And you know what? I have to give another shout out because that concept was something I learned in my resident assistant training.
Oh, okay.
So I give a
Awesome.
shout out to my RDs as well.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, they right. A lot of good influences have been around,
Yeah.
and um, it's good. It's good to see that in the world. But they had a cool bonfire,
Okay.
and essentially you put your positive or what you want to burn away for the year or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I wanted to adapt it to be able to appeal to people at a book fair. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And
very
now,
cool. Shout out to them. Shout out to
yeah,
the RD.
for
Yeah.
sure. Now I know you said like part of what you've been doing, kind of like for the marketing or just getting CPC out there, is libraries. You mentioned Delaware. What other states are you in? Do you know off the top of your head?
Okay. So yeah, at this point, it's in Delaware. It's in Michigan. It's now in Connecticut as well.
Okay. Nice.
Soon to be in the Poconos too.
Oh, awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're really excited. I actually just got back from this business trip. I was out in the Poconos, um, and while I was there, I saw a local library. I stopped in,
Yeah.
ended up chatting it up. Yeah, and super friendly. Every library I go to, the people there very intellectual, awesome to talk to, really friendly people, really down to earth. It's really awesome.
That's so
Um,
cool.
yeah, so they essentially they're very open to the idea of having CPC come through, and that's in the works as well. So
Awesome, man. So,
yeah.
other than CPC, like, is there anything else you're working on, or is CPC really like your main focus right now?
Oh man, that's a good question. So I'm always keeping busy, Zach. You
Yeah,
know
I
me,
I know
right?
you.
Yeah, that's right. So if yeah, Zach knows, but yeah, I'm always staying busy. So there's as a health professional, I've been around a lot of the health industry,
Right.
and I've seen certain things that I personally wouldn't stand behind.
Okay.
Just to say it blatantly, people taken advantage of. Certain things that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be that because someone knows more than someone else that they are taken advantage of.
Right.
And there are some occasions where people just don't. They just they're just doing what the book tells them, and they tell the people that need the help, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't quite work. And these are things that I feel in this society, in this day and age, where we're at with technology, where we're at with the information age, which is what we're in.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that. Fitness should be universally shared. It should be able to be everywhere. Everyone should understand what they need for their basic needs for their own development, for their own body.
Right.
So that being said, that's been the project in the background. Is something I'll give a shout out to Get 'em Training.
Yep.
GETM, that's getemtraining.online. Very fun project. It's
Yeah.
been a good year in the making. We wanted to make sure it was not influenced by any greed. It was not influenced by negativity.
Yeah.
In the short and sweet of it, I can't really say too much more, but check it out if you get the chance. It's a fitness platform, and we're looking to really end a lot of health misinformation and do a couple other things. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you and I kind of talked about it recently, and I definitely plan on checking it out and, just following you on that journey and supporting that, project you're working on. But yeah, anyone else listening to this, give it a look. I have no doubt that Nick's going to do some awesome things with it.
You're awesome, Zach, and thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's not even just it's not me. There's a team of people. We all really believe in the concept. We want to save the world, essentially. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
want to just we want to save the world, but this things that aren't as efficient as they could be
Yeah.
within our modern society. People are able to step in this what's the word? Essentially, entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Someone that knows enough could step in and help out. So I actually met up with some entrepreneurs. I had the fitness background. They had a little bit of the savvy with the tech.
Yeah.
Got together and there it is.
That's awesome. Very cool.
So I got to
Yes.
give shout outs to them too. They want it just as much as I do.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. And yeah, shout out to the team too. I know that and I'm sure you're the same way, Nick, that any help that we get along the way on our journeys, we definitely got to give it out to the people that support us and help make the visions come true as well.
absolutely, absolutely, Zach.
Yeah. So, with being a health profession and figure skating and everything, you're still competing and everything, right? With
Good
skating?
question.
Yeah.
So yeah, so training was this morning, and that was 4 a.m. Hit the gym. After that, went to the rink. After that, took a breather, went back to the rink. So training is a full go.
Okay.
In order to balance, being an author, being a fitness professional, and being a figure skater, it requires me to wake up at 3:30
Oh
a.m.
my
and
gosh.
get my day started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. So what's like the goals or the journey right now with figure skating? Are you shooting for? I know we kind of mentioned or we talked about in the past, like the Olympics was kind of always a goal of yours. Is that still something you're shooting for, or are you kind of like what's all the training leading you up to?
that's right. So, I like to keep a little low key
Okay.
when it comes to taking on an endeavor like the Olympics. That is my end game. That's
Okay.
the goal that I want to work for.
Okay.
Um, it's not for me though. I really want to do it to send a very important message that I feel like really needs to be within our society.
Okay.
And the message would be that you can do anything you want to.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want to, and you could do it from any point at which you start.
I love
And
that.
that's the message. Yes. And to give like a little, perspective on that, I was a football player. I was a, collegiate level football player. I played football most of my life up until college.
Okay.
Um, and then I had realized that it's just, through my science background, it's probably the worst thing for you,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not good for the body, is it?
Definitely it's good, short shelf life or short career.
Yeah.
So I decided to pursue something where I could see more longevity.
Yeah.
And I get into figure skating, and I fall in love with the sport. And I can't say that I haven't skated before. I had been in and out of the sport my whole life, but there was a lot of opportunity coming up after I left collegiate football, which was a really hard decision.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, my whole team, I really support those guys. They were awesome. Shout out to the coaches, shout out to everyone.
Yeah.
But anyways, to the point was, leaving that, making this difficult journey. About a year into it, I looked around and I realized, I said, I don't want to just skate. I said, I want to make a message. I want to be the best skater I can be.
Right.
And it kept evolving from there to say, when a lot of people, the reactions I'd gather from them, where they're looking at me and they're saying, hey, didn't you used to play football? It kind of just made me realize, like, I could show people how possible it is to, one, to change your whole body type.
Yeah.
Two, to change sports at a late age, quote unquote, in an athletic career, and still be successful. And these are very important messages. There's such an underlying, don't try this and don't do this and you're too old, and
Yeah.
that saying is the worst.
It
It's
is.
just, it's riddled, right, Zach? It's like riddled in our society.
It really is. And I think that, yeah, that's a great message. And, I feel like people around our age, people that just get out of school or people ending their time in college, definitely have that mentality of like, I need to get a job. I need to stay at the job for the next like 40 years and,
Right.
make a good salary and start putting in a 401k and all that stuff. And by no means am I saying like that's wrong or like don't do that or, don't be like
Right.
financially responsible. But, I think, like you
Right.
said,
Right.
like you're never too old to do anything. And I think the way that I look at it is, like for me, I'm 23. Like I have so much life ahead of me. Like if I pick up and try something new, go into this field, go into that, write, be an author, to go to like, I don't know, maybe I'll do photography, like I have so much time on my side and it's never too late to do what you truly care about and what you're passionate about. I mean, like you and I both have a lot of time left in our lives to, work a corporate job or, to save for retirement. So, I think it's all about just that message that you said, like, you're never too old to start. And I truly believe, like you said, like you can do anything if you really if you really want to and put your mind to it and work for it. I think anything's possible.
That's right. Do what you love and do it when you want to. Don't let anyone influence you. Don't let them tell you you can't. You can do it. Anyone listening, you can do it. Whatever it is that you want to do, start doing it and do it. And don't let anyone tell you no, because you got it. And I'll tell you right now, I may not know you, but you got it. You know what I mean? Like you got it. Zach, I know he agrees.
I agree
You got
100%.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that like to the people listening to that, you should just save that like 30-second clip and just play that on loop. I think that that's so relevant. And I mean, like I know for
That's
me,
awesome.
like in college, there were so many times where I was like, what major should I pick? And I'd go back and forth between my majors and my minors. And I ended up getting my degree in psychology. And so many people were telling me I would never find a job. You can't do anything with the degree, and it really kind of had me on the fence between doing it. But at the end of the day, that's what I was passionate about. So I mean, that's my example. I mean, I feel like Nick's already
Nice.
shared a lot of examples, but yeah, like you can literally do anything, work towards what you're passionate about. I think that we get so kind of like in this lull, I guess, if you will, of life where we're just in such a routine, like wake up, go to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed or whatever. And it's like, we're not
Right,
even
right.
really living. You know what I mean? We're doing, we're not living.
That's right. And there's no time, right? There's no time. I got to go to bed for work, and then you're at work. There's no time for this because I got to go home to cook, and then you're
Yeah.
cooking, and there's no time for. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely. I see that too.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
Making that time.
yeah, and I think that that's awesome that you brought that up, Nick. For the people out there that do have that kind of issue, or maybe that's an obstacle to them. Like, I don't have that time. What would you give them advice wise for like making that time, or like how would you suggest overcoming that?
Well, I'd start by saying get a new job. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. There's I mean there's many lifestyles
Right.
that one can live on in this day and age. There's plenty of opportunities. There's arts that you could do, Instagram influencers. There's everything in between. There's people that work the 9 to 5s and have a great time. But ultimately, if you're sitting there and you're listening and you're saying, man, I want this for my life.
Yeah.
I suggest you start by writing down exactly your vision, or just a first step, and really, really starting small. You got to start small,
Yeah.
taking very small bites,
Yeah.
very small bites, starting with just one thing. It could just be, waking up 10 minutes earlier to do a nice morning journal entry or a nice morning meditation. Something even along those lines, just that extra 10 minutes where you could just pack in a little something for yourself in the day.
Yeah, I love that. I think that, like you said, we don't have to have these big ambitious goals of, just to think of like a common one, especially around like this time of year, like, oh, I want to get in shape. You don't have to say, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week and work out for an hour every day. Maybe just start by like on your lunch break, going for a walk, and then maybe, go to the gym a couple times a week. Like you just got to ease yourself into these things. Cause I feel like for personal experience and just like from seeing people, when you make those big goals, they're intimidating, they're daunting, and it's so easy to fall off the wagon that way instead of like just starting slow. And like, it's not a race, right? It's a marathon.
Right. Well said. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. And then those small goals lead to that big goal, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And,
That's what's up.
next thing you know, like that big goal that you had that you thought was so far down the road, that actually, if you look at it, is one of your smaller goals towards the ultimate goal. You know what I mean?
Well said. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, Nick, something I'm kind of curious on, and I feel like I kind of know a little about it, but the mentality that you have, the mindset, the positivity, the good vibes, the energy, where did that come from for you? Like, did you just wake up one day with, this is what I want to be about, this is how I want to live my life? Was it kind of from the getting hit by the car accident, or what really shaped you to be who you are today?
That is a very interesting question because out of all the times that I'm positive, which is every minute,
Right.
I'm known to be right. I'm known to be positive. Everyone will comment and say, "You're so positive,"
Yeah.
but no, I've actually never been asked exactly how I came to this point. Yeah. I would say it definitely, my history was very, very much so difficult.
Okay.
I went to a school where, I was picked on and I was bullied, and um, I never quite understood why, because I'd always be very friendly with everyone.
Okay.
And this was before eighth grade. This is the childish kind of stuff. But if it happened then, I fear that it still happens today,
Yeah.
even though we probably are making a lot of reformations. But
Right.
so that was my life, and I'd go to school every day and kind of be picked on, and there would be no reason really. It would
Yeah.
just be like just because. And
Right.
I now, I've done a lot of self-reflection to look back and understand that exactly how the structure was for that social group in that setting. When seventh grade came around, a new kid came into school,
Okay.
and all of a sudden, all the people that were picking on me, they started looking at the new kid,
Right.
and I was all of a sudden everyone's best friend.
Okay.
And it was very interesting. But
Yeah.
um, there was also people that didn't pick on me, and it wasn't like an everyday thing,
Right.
but it's certainly, for a young person trying to understand the world, it was definitely a lot of me having to kind of internalize exactly, why is this happening to me. I didn't quite understand it, but I knew that if I just kept showing up with a positive attitude, that it would eventually pay off. And the payoff happened, and
Yeah.
then everyone started coming over to hang out. And um, now I look back too, and I'm like, should there have been a moment where I brought it up to them? Or but it's definitely not important. It's so in the past. it's
Right.
it's childish. Everyone's grown up, right? It's
Right.
all beyond it. So I've actually taken a lot of some of those concepts, and when I went into high school, I started to see it happening to other people,
Right.
and I looked at them as I saw in myself, and I said, I'm not going to let that happen to these people. So at lunch tables, I would see people sitting alone, and I would go sit with them, and kind of just try to be the friend that they seems like would help them in a high school setting.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of where it all came from. And I had to do a lot of my own self-development and do something called a purge, which is used in CPC.
Yep.
So I won't get too much into it for sake of time, but that's a bit of the story. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, yeah, that's really cool to hear, and thank you for giving me the exclusive scoop on what's led you to be how you are, and I think that's cool. Like, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where you kind of just switched your mindset and you kind of adapted to what you had to, in that situation, and it's just that positivity has kind of manifested into what it is today, and I think it's powerful and it's cool to hear.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, a lot of people, I know nowadays it's like, everyone's trying to strive for their image, and they'd almost be embarrassed to admit that they were maybe picked on.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel as though it's almost like a uniting thing. Like it almost happened to everyone in some way at some point,
Oh yeah, for sure.
even if it was the smallest way. But it's interesting that our society kind of has been set up in a way where kids were not given a proper image of how community could be, of how your classmates and the relations with them could be,
Right.
which is good because now we have a lot of programs for that. So,
Yeah.
you know, boys clubs, girls clubs, after school programs. So it's good. It's good to see the Reformation, and I know you're on the forefront of it, trying to keep reforming society, keep pushing in a direction where these things will just be irrelevant. We can all focus on, the greater good, the future of humanity,
Yeah.
discovery, science, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I
all the
appreciate
good
that,
stuff.
man. Yeah, I mean, definitely like you, I want to be able to, use my life, my platform to kind of help make those changes and, just bring people together. Without getting too far into it and everything, just kind of the world we live in right now. There's some frictions going on. We don't have to get into all that, but just from the climate, I guess, if you will, of the world. There's some hatred, there's some divide going on. So, I just don't see a point. We're all human. Let's work together. Let's come together. Let's all get along. And be able to support and help and encourage others. I think that's so important.
Right? I agree. I agree completely. I'm sure those listening probably agree as well. So
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. So, Nick, I think, you've given a lot of great kind of, you know, advice and just your story throughout our time. But, for someone that maybe wants to try something new or maybe wants to be an author or switch from one sport to another or from one career to another, what would be kind of like your best advice for just from all your life experience? I know that's probably a lot. What would you want to tell, like, maybe a younger Nick out there who's listening to this, or just someone that is maybe looking for some direction or just some guidance?
I would, quite honestly, I would tell them to grab CPC and
Yeah.
kind of crack it open and try to understand some of the concepts. It's basically that we outline exactly how to go
Yeah.
through changes and understand yourself better. And it's definitely a book that opens perspective. So
Yeah.
I would shoot for something like that. But if we're thinking even smaller terms, would be, got to start with those small steps again. So
Yeah.
just one step at a time, tackle one thing that you want to go for, one thing that you may not like about your life, and just start with that one thing and really discover what it is, how it came to be that way, how you can overcome it, which is always the case. You can always overcome any problem. I'm gonna preach that to the audience here. You can
Yeah.
always overcome any problem. We all know this. We got this.
Yes.
It's
100%.
anything's overcomable. We're very intelligent. The human race, we're all very intelligent. We can overcome things. It's very simple. Our brains are wired for it. We're problem solvers.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, just to echo it, I think CPC is a great starting point. If you want to check out Nick's book, and I promise you, like, that's not just like some marketing ploy. Like, it really does have so much value in it. And I think it really does address kind of, just how to make those changes. And I mean, the title, Creating Positive Change, it explains, it's self-explanatory, but it is super helpful. And, even me who kind of has the same, not the science background, but just kind of like the positivity and self-help or self-help kind of category. Like I got a lot of value from it and I learned a lot. So yeah, definitely check that out. But Nick, where can people maybe check out CPC or connect with you or follow your journey? Do you have like any social media or websites that people can check out?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I keep it very real. So, Facebook, my name, Nick Gambacini. That's Gambacini. Instagram, Olympic Dream 216.
There we
Shout
go.
out.
I love it.
That's my real story. I like to be very real on social media.
Yeah.
I see social media heading in a direction where everyone's about business and selling, and it's not how it was originally intended. If we go back to MySpace and
Oh yeah.
the social aspect, it was to bring people together. And now I feel it's separating people into categories that can be sold to, which is just not the best. But
Right.
the yeah, so I'm at Amazon. If you want to check out my book, it's on Amazon.
Okay.
Beware, there's someone that bought it and
I
they're
saw
trying
that.
they're selling it for, I think, like $28, something like crazy,
Yeah.
as a used book, right?
Right.
And I was like, what's going on there? That's funny though.
That is funny. I mean, hey, that's pretty cool. But yeah, Amazon. Anywhere else that people can get it, or is it just Amazon is the only place you're selling right now?
yeah, currently we're just keeping it to Amazon. Eventually we're gonna branch things
For
out, but
sure.
with the we got a low budget, so
Yeah.
Amazon does a great job keeping it cost effective for everyone. So
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I'm through Amazon too, so I get it. They're a great company to partner with, of course. So that's awesome. Anything else? Any other websites? Or I know you mentioned the new training one that you have.
yeah, get 'em training
Nice.
online. We got a team of professionals.
Yep.
It's not quite up yet, but now that I mentioned on this anchor web chat with Zach
Yeah,
here, so if you're hearing about it, you're one of the first. So
that's
shout
awesome.
out to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for sharing it, and I'm excited to see how it goes. But yeah, Nick, I mean, thanks for coming on today and chatting, and just me and you kind of just catching up, but also just sharing all your stories and just everything cool that you're doing for the world. I know that you've already put a lot of positive energy out there, and I know you'll continue to do so. And I'm excited to see from like the perspective of your friend, but also just as someone watching what you do. I think it'll be cool to see all that you accomplish in the coming years.
thanks, Zach. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah,
It's my work is very often unrecognized because of what it is, right?
right.
But having you say that, and I'm sure it might be similar for you as an author. We
Yeah.
never quite get that immediate recognition, but shout out to you, Zach. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. Shout out to the audience. Thanks for listening. You guys are all great. Everyone's great.
Yeah.
Woo! Shout out.
I love it. Awesome. And thank you again, Nick. We'll have to have you come back maybe a year or so down the road or even a few months and kind of see what else has been going on or the new updates. But thanks for joining us. And if you're listening to this, go give Nick a follow on some social media. Say hey, get his book CPC, and just be excited for the new chapters coming up in his life.
That's awesome. I'm all shout out to fans. I'm always chatting it up with them. So
Awesome. All right, Nick. Thanks again. Take care.
thank you, Zach. Bye.